I should hit too.
Oh, here we are. Are we?
Yep, here we
are. We are now live. Here's Colonel. Yep. This isn't a dog. This is Colonel this time.
It's true. Sweet baby. Everybody wants a piece.
I know. I took a very... Hi, everyone.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Everybody.
Hi, welcome to 30-ish podcast.
Yes, welcome.
Do I sound stuffed up? It's because I am.
You actually don't sound too stuffed up.
I don't? Okay.
No, you sound pretty good. Okay.
Good.
Okay.
That's wonderful.
It's nice.
It's
nice.
We're doing good. We got Colonel on our laps.
For a brief moment.
And if you didn't notice, if you're watching the IG lives right now, you notice that we're drinking out of fucking mugs right now, guys.
It's pretty delicious.
It is, and nutritious.
I mean,
it's quite an old remedy. Can you guess what we're drinking, guys? It's hot toddies today.
You didn't give me time to guess.
I know. I didn't. We could do like Blue's Clues and be like, did you see where it was? Do you see what's in this cup?
Yep.
Oh, you got it right. You did. I heard you.
Oh, yeah. You have to give them like the fake pause. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pause.
It's important.
Yes.
Anyway.
Boost up their self-esteem.
And boosting our immune systems.
I mean, I don't know.
Oh, but let's... Yeah, we're all over the place.
Honey is, but anyway. Hello, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Can you guys notice our mugs, too? Look at Shay's fucking mug. It's Nesquik. Right?
Yeah.
Speaking of nostalgia, pop culture.
It's pretty cute.
And being 30-ish. Welcome to 30-ish. Did we even say that?
I don't think. It's been obviously a minute that we don't know what the fuck we're doing anymore.
I know. Every time it's been a minute.
It's always been a minute. But it's fine. We're going to get on a routine here, you guys. From now on, every other week.
Yeah. Cheers to that.
Totally.
Look at this.
Getting our shit together over here.
So we're drinking hot toddies and mugs. Mm-hmm. Shay was just in Disney World.
I was in the Disney bubble.
She was in the Enchanted Kingdom.
I really was. It was a good time.
United Kingdom.
Really
I'll watch this.
Really soothed my nerd, not my nerve. That's weird.
Soothed your nerve.
Soothed my nerd.
This is hard to drink like that.
Is it? It's just you put
because I was like this
liquid in a cup.
No, because with the mic I was saying.
Oh, I see.
Because I went to go lift it
and it wasn't working.
I got stuck.
That's fine. Yeah. So it was a good time. It was hot. So hot. So like when we came back on Monday and everyone was like, oh my God, it's snowing so much. And I was like, well, whatever.
Yeah, there's 10 inches of fucking snow when you came back.
Because I was just so sweaty.
You were so sweaty.
So sweaty.
Hi, Jess.
Hi, Jess. We'll see you here in a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our friend Jess is hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about this week? Should we just get into it?
I don't know what's happening. I think we need to get into it because I think I had a little bit.
I'm just ready to talk.
I had
about
a little bit of the COVID crud, not the COVID crud, the Florida crud.
Excuse
kind of the same
me.
thing.
It's pretty much.
Yeah, and then you were sick, so I think half a sick brain and you have a sick brain equals a good brain.
It equals.
I mean, we're not really sick, but I don't know what's happening. We need to just move on.
Well,
hello, everybody.
What did you roll?
Oh, I rolled crime.
Did you?
Have we done this before?
I rolled crime.
Jesus.
I rolled crime as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for mine. It's a good one. I didn't know about this. I don't know how I didn't know about this. I say that almost all the time, which is insane.
That's good. That's why we do these. That's why we do this.
So I don't have enough crime in my life.
So that we can learn more about random shit that we didn't know about.
It's true.
Am I right?
Oh, yeah.
Are you learning things?
They are.
Together? We are learning.
We're all learning.
All sorts of things.
We are.
Whether they're useful or not.
I mean,
you're learning something, right?
Yeah. I mean, Am
I right?
I have somebody that told me that she could come on the podcast and talk about something it's called vaginal dilators. And I'm like, well, that would be something that we would learn compared to our drunken shenanigans on this.
What?
I don't know what it is, but
she wants to come on and talk to us about it.
Yes. But I'm just saying that would we would learn something.
We would. Oh, I learn things all the time. You learn things when you research.
I mean, I do, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like not just about crime.
It's not just stuff. Yeah.
Or like how do people get the nacho flavored Doritos, the flavor in there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like actual.
Like things that maybe would be
like
privy to maybe people in their 30s.
Yeah,
that
maybe.
might be something that they need. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, we should move along because I don't know what I'm talking about. It's like I'm in front of the camera for the first time.
Oh, yeah, we are on live. So let's go.
Okay. I don't know what's happening.
I don't either. Well, we got to go.
Yeah, we do.
We got to go. I'm just ready to talk. So, hey, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye. Are you ready?
I'm ready, Freddie.
Ready for this crime?
What if one time, like, we rolled the same thing and we did the same
That's literally my worst fear every time we do crime. Every time we have crime together, I'm always afraid.
The one that I just did, like, it would be plausible, but go on.
It's probably the same one. Is it the torso murders of Cleveland, Ohio?
No, but I thought about doing that one. Not this time, but a while ago.
Oh, really?
Did not do that one. Not even close.
So do you know?
Huh? I don't know
about these a little bit?
I think sometimes I type in, like, bizarre crime stories. And so I think one time that came up. But I've not. So I don't know anything about it. So here we go.
It's a special one.
Here we go. Colonel.
I was inspired to do this story because of my boyfriend Christopher is from Cleveland. Well, outside of Cleveland, Ohio.
Well, that's better than,
And I think when we were there, we were like talking about it or something, and or there was something on Netflix, and Chris was like, "This was in Cleveland. Have you ever heard of this?" I was like, "No, I should do a podcast on it." So I wrote it on my list, and so I'm doing one.
I love that. I love that for you.
Just checking off the list.
Checking it twice.
Checking it more than twice.
I mean,
I keep going back
sometimes
to that
I have
thing.
to because, like, I'm like, did I already do this one?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All right.
Yeah, and then I'm like, did Shay do this? I always also think I'm like, did Shay already do this?
I've done that too with you. With some of the history ones, for sure. Because
Yeah.
you always seem to roll history more than I do. But anyway, go on.
I love it. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about, like I said, the torso murders. Sounds pretty awesome, right?
Sounds.
Yeah, it is just that. It's also known as the Kingsbury Run murders.
Okay.
Because Kingsbury Run was a place where a lot of these murders were taking place.
That almost is a rhyme.
Uh-huh. It is a rhyme. Place and place. Okay. Oh, I guess that's the same word.
It's fine.
I was like, it is a rhyme because it's
the same
place.
word, and it's great.
What did I say? Anyways, so these murders were a little while ago, not too long, 1934.
Oh, okay.
Between 1934 and 1938, so a span of 4 years.
As old as my grandma.
Exactly. Is that when she was born?
1930. Nope, you're right. I mean, you're not right.
I'm always right.
No, wait. She was born in 39, maybe 37. So she
dodged this bullet, especially being in Texas.
Literally. That is true. There was a lot of compounding factors happening. Okay, sorry.
Oh, no. So 1934 to 1938.
Okay.
Some motherfucker / serial killer murdered and dismembered at least 12 people. And about 3 or I think maybe 4 have been actually identified, but the rest of them have not been.
Sad.
And just like his victims, he also has never been identified.
Oh,
so
he's one of them.
This is an unsolved
He's
murder,
like
technically, kind of, pretty much.
Why can't I fucking think today? No, that's not. Is it the Grim? No.
The Grim Reaper?
No. What am I thinking of? The guy from London. Why can't I? Oh my God, I cannot think.
The Ripper, Jack the Ripper.
Thank you, Jesus.
But don't they know who that is? They don't know who he is?
They have a suspicion.
We did a podcast on that, didn't we?
We did not. That was a different serial killer.
Oh, the Ripper. Some other Ripper dude.
Some other Ripper guy. That guy was out of, but I don't think it was called Ripper. But they actually thought that he could have been Jack the Ripper because he was at the World's Fair and he was killing people in Chicago. Yes.
The doctor.
H.H. Holmes.
Yes, the doctor dude.
Anyway, look
Here
at
we
all
go.
There we go.
Look at all these episodes we've done.
Just
Shay.
connecting the dots.
You guys, if you haven't listened to that episode, go find it. We don't know what it's called, but
it's like kind of in the beginning.
Yeah, it's one of the OGs. It's probably 2021.
Probably.
Do you guys know we've been doing this for fucking 4 years? Look at us.
Cheers to us.
Anyways, keep it going. We're keeping it going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so again, This is an unsolved murder mystery.
Well, that's terrifying.
So that's cool. Anyways, it's also, it's considered to be one of the most sensational and intriguing unsolved crimes of our nation's history. So here we go.
Here we go.
And yes, it's unsolved. So first of all, let me set the stage. Okay. So during the 1920s, so obviously this is before the torso murders were happening.
Okay.
Cleveland was becoming quite the place, okay? It was a city on the rise. It was like big booming business. There was, here's a little fun fact about little Cleveland that I didn't know about.
Okay.
So it was a progressive city at the time. And did you know that the women's suffrage was achieved nationally in 1920, but in as early as 1916, women were voting. Isn't that sweet?
Oh, good for them.
4 years early.
Look at you, progressive.
Progressive East Cleveland. Anyways.
That's probably why Flo's from Ohio.
Yeah, so the city had wealthy people living in homes along this place called Millionaire's Row, which is actually pretty sweet. And they were supporting lots of new educational and cultural institutions. And there were speakeasies and clubs everywhere. It was a big, it was also during the time of Prohibition. It was a place where they liked to smuggle in the booze. But I guess in Cleveland area, it wasn't as enforced as strongly. So it was a booming speakeasy town. Unless Elliot Ness had something to do with it, but that's for another day. Okay. Except we are going to talk about Elliot Ness later, but not because of the booze.
Okay.
So anyways, we're just combining all sorts of things.
I'm into it.
So it was a great time back in the 20s for Cleveland, but then the Great Depression hit in 1929.
So he had to slice and dice.
People were hurting for money. People were straggling. People were losing their homes, their jobs, their livelihoods, their lives.
And
it was a huge city, so like people were moving to some parts of town, making their own little villages. There was this place in Cleveland called the Hobo Jungle, which is where most of these crimes were taking place.
It's also now called Austin, Texas, so it's fine.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, there's like little whole cities. And I think actually Hobo Jungle is a very enduring name. They should pick that up, and TM
well,
that shit.
Back in 1929, Cleveland.
Yeah, it's probably not a great place to be.
It was a sad...
it wouldn't be a great place to be now. But anyway, so it was just a very sad, full of families that were just not making it.
Yes. And lots of transients too, because I'll talk about it in a sec.
Okay.
So, hard times make shit hard. So people were pissed and they couldn't afford shit. And they were, crime was starting to be on the rise at this time.
Well, I would imagine you're thieving and, all those things.
Yes. So again, like I said, there's also lots of transients because at this particular part of Cleveland, there's a bunch of train tracks running through there. And so people were either like on the run or they were there for a little bit and then like leaving for the winter and like it was just it
wasn't a good time.
It was called the Hobo Jungle. There was trash everywhere and people were just being dispossessed and
wasn't a good time.
Displaced.
Yeah.
Not a good time.
Not a good time.
So the area just to the east of this Kingsbury Run area was known as the Roaring Third. And this is where there a bunch of brothels and flop houses and gambling dens and all that kind of stuff was. So there was a lot of shit going on over there.
My God.
And people were just trying to fucking cope with life.
Right.
Okay? And they're trying to get laid.
Clearly.
Okay.
Whole district for that.
Yes. So
the
buckle
Brown
up.
District.
We're going to start talking about the victims of the torso murders. Okay? Because
hold
now
on to your torsos.
We're from the 20s. We're coming a little bit out of a lot of the politicians in Cleveland were trying to make the city better, and they were supposedly doing a lot to help the city. But there's obviously lots of people that still were not seeing that benefit.
Well, no.
Okay, so here we go. Our first victim.
Okay.
She hits a little close to home, guys, because she was found out to be 30-ish.
I was like going to say, did she die on an exploding thresher?
No, not this time.
Not this time, okay.
It might have been a better fate for her.
Oh, sweet baby.
Yikes.
Okay, so she was in her 30s. Got it.
Okay, so in September of 1934, a young man found the remains of a woman in her mid-30s washed up on the shores of Lake Erie. It was a torso with thighs still attached, amputated at the knees. Just washed right up.
Also, can we just, for a second, think about, also, there was not, I would assume, I could be ignorant because I've not done the research, but there was no electric, there's no chainsaws.
No.
You would have to use a handsaw.
There might have been a chainsaw back then. 30s?
I don't think so.
Anyways, not that makes it better.
But it makes it worse. Or, I mean, I guess an axe, but, oh, God. Okay, go on. Sorry.
You know what? No matter how you fucking crumble it.
You mean axe it? Hatch it?
No.
Hack it.
I chose my words precisely.
Hack it.
Yeah, actually,
I'm an idiot. All right.
No matter how you hack it.
Yeah. All right, go on. Sorry. I'm an asshole.
The county coroner at the time, Mr. A.J. Pierce, noted that the chemical preservative on the skin had made the skin turn red, tough, and leathery. And he noted that it was, a specific type of preservative that was doing this. They ended up finding a few other body parts in a subsequent search later on, but her head was never found.
Like ever?
No.
Like forever?
And this woman was never identified, but was soon referred to as the Lady of the Lake.
See, I
think if you ever hear about the Lady of the Lake,
that's her. Well, she's for sure haunting that place. She's like the headless horseman of the modern times. Probably. But secondly, I think that's almost worse with these stories when they're never that's somebody's kid. You know what I mean? That's just so sad to me.
I know.
Anyway,
so it wasn't until 2 years later that this find was actually included in the official killing total of this torso murder dude, because this was the first of its kind. They were like, oh, this is just a random murder.
So it really wasn't tallied in.
Not technically. So that's why it's not why. It's he at least killed 12 victims.
Okay.
But this is victim number 0 technically.
Fuck. Okay.
All right, moving along to September 1935, a year later.
Okay. He gave himself
a break. He
gave it a year.
2 teenage boys discovered a decapitated and emasculated corpse.
Ooh.
One of a white male at the base of a place called Jackass Hill.
Okay.
Yes, his dick was cut off, emasculated.
So this guy doesn't even have a type.
No.
Clearly.
Exactly. No. You think it's going to be all women. Nope.
He's like, I'm going to cut off his wiener.
You expect it to be all women, which is fucked. But it's not, which is also fucked. No matter how you hack it, it's fucked up.
Oh my, you do know that's going to have to be the title of this. No matter how you hack it.
Probably. Okay, so, and this corpse was found right on East 49th Street, which dead ends to Kingsbury Run.
Okay.
The body was naked except for a pair of socks. So he's a quirky. He's a quirky killer.
He cut off his arms, or did you already say that?
He was decapitated and emasculated. So just he had rope burns around both his wrists. So he had he was just decapitated and had his socks on, thankfully.
Well, we all know that about guys sometimes
don't want to get cold.
Yes.
or he liked whatever.
Yeah. His whole thing was I don't like feet. Well, I mean, he could have cut him off. All right, go on. Sorry, I could go for hours.
Anyways, so the cause of death was determined to be decapitation.
Thanks, detective. Good. Oh my God. I use all of my shoddy detective school skills.
Hey, it was the 30s. But hey, he could have been killed before.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, you know what this one looks like? If he had his head, he could still be alive. What the fuck? Jesus Christ. Anyway, go on.
There's scientific ways they can know that. Okay, sorry. Fingerprints were able to identify him as a man named Edward Adranzi, who was a 28-year-old white male who frequented the Roaring Third. While searching the crime scene, police discovered a second body nearby. Also a decapitated
at the crime scene.
Yeah, they were searching around for more, like, maybe to find his head or something.
Cool.
And they were like, oh, well, actually, here's another whole body, except he was also decapitated and his pecker was also removed.
His pecker.
This one appeared to be covered with the same chemical preservative as the Lady of the Lake, which made them make the little connection, maybe, that this wasn't this was a serial
killer.
Offense. Yeah.
Okay.
And they also realized this person that they had just found had probably been dead for at least a couple weeks. Ooh. And the 4-year-old white male was also never identified. Or no, the first one was identified. The second one, not identified.
Oh, so he remains a John Doe.
Yes, as do most of these people.
Oh, that's sad.
January 1936. So we're 6 months away. 6 months.
Okay, so he's getting faster.
Yeah, he's like, okay, I can do this.
I can do this. Lickety split.
Easy. These motherfuckers don't have any idea what the fuck's going on.
Exactly. Clearly,
they're saying decapitation cause of death. Good job, guys.
Great. Boo.
Anyways,
piss.
So a woman discovered parts of another woman's body neatly wrapped in newspaper and packed into 2 half-bushel baskets. Like,
a bushel
dude,
basket?
He is getting real kinky with this shit.
He kind of has Ed Gein run for his money.
He's got something.
Yeah, Ed Gein is, right?
No.
That's the guy that made the women out of lampshades. You've probably heard of this crime. I think I did a episode on him.
I think you did.
He was
too.
The one, like, he was really, he had like a mommy complex. Kept his mom, like his mom died, and then he kept her in the room for like a year.
Oh my god.
Anyway, oh yeah, no, he was like in the 1920s. Maybe not, but like you probably have heard his crime in some, whatever, it's been.
I mean, he sounds like Buffalo Bill on crack.
And Buffalo Bill, I think, is based off of him.
So maybe you did.
Yeah.
I do remember that now.
Okay, go on, sorry.
So, the baskets were left alongside the Hart Manufacturing Building on Central Avenue near East 20th Street. If you're a Clevelander, which I know a lot of you are.
Oh, yeah.
Listening. The rest of the remains, except for the head, of course. He liked to decapitate everyone and keep the heads, apparently.
Okay.
Do you remember that? Do you remember the fucking weird ass movie? Was that fucking the Craft girl, and she was in what's that movie? Return to Oz. Do you remember that movie? And the Queen had a fucking case of heads.
I don't remember. I think I watched Return to Oz once. I don't really remember it.
That movie. I loved that movie, but it also I thought I lived in that movie. Is that weird? Like I thought that movie was like real life. Ugh. Like I really felt that movie was like very realistic to me.
It's okay.
It gave me nightmares, but I liked it. I didn't like the nightmares, but like I
like that it felt
I don't
real?
know why it felt so real, that movie. It just freaked me out a lot. I think that's why it felt real.
That's fair.
Okay, so anyways, I just picture him being like the Queen in that movie. If you guys remember Return to Oz, fucking hashtag 30-ish 90s nostalgia pop-up video. Okay.
Oh God, hurts my heart.
Yeah. So the rest of the remains, except for the head, were recovered about 10 days later in a nearby vacant lot. Okay. And as with victims number 1 and 2, the cause of death had been decapitation.
Oh.
Slice them right off.
But okay. This cause of death is ridiculous.
I know. It is, but it's also like he could have killed him by like stabbing him first or poisoning them or I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like, okay, well, Muggsy. Clearly, look at that. He doesn't have a head, so that's how he died.
So, yeah. She was victim number 3, of course, because we had victim 0.
But of course.
Was able to be identified as a woman named Florence Polilio.
That is a very old name.
Polio.
Okay.
Polio.
It's okay.
Not polio.
But it's just phonetically different.
Polillo. Anyways, she was a waitress, a barmaid, who at the time of her death lived right on the edge of the Roaring Third. Again, another one.
So he really is kind of like
in the
Jack
neighborhood,
the Ripper, in the sense where he kind of cornered like a
area,
like a hotbed of just like kind of gambling vices district. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. So here we go. June 1936.
Oh.
That's about 5 months later.
So yeah, he's picking up the speed.
He's slowly creeping in.
Yeah.
Early one morning in Kingsbury Run, 2 young boys discovered the head of a white male wrapped in a pair of trousers close to the East 55th Street Bridge.
Trousers.
The next day, Cleveland police found the body of a 20-some-year-old man. The next day, dumped in front of the Nickel Plate Railroad Police Building. The Nickel Plate. Again, cleaned and drained of blood and decapitated.
Oh, okay.
Could you guess what the cause of death was?
Decapitation.
You're right.
High blood pressure.
And in spite of a fresh set of fingerprints and the presence of 6 distinctive tattoos on his body parts, police never were able to identify this victim.
Jesus.
The 30s were a wild time.
Okay. Clearly were.
Also, something else weird happened with this fucking specific victim.
Okay.
A plaster reproduction of the man's head, along with a diagram of the kind and location of the tattoos, were displayed at the Great Lakes Exposition of 1936.
Okay.
More than 100,000 people saw the death mask and tattoo chart, but the tattooed man was never identified. Mm-hmm. The original death mask, along with the 3 others from the case, are on display at the Cleveland Police Museum. So they literally took a plaster reproduction of the man's head.
Ugh.
I guess they didn't ever find the head, so they just made it. I think
though.
I reread that. I got more freaked out about that than I thought. But I was like, they put his head on display.
I mean,
they might as well.
It wouldn't have shocked
this
me
was
for the
him.
30s. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It wouldn't have shocked me either. Okay, so now that I'm done freaking out about that with my sick brain, July 1936, this is a month later, he's really picking up speed. A teenage girl came across the decapitated remains of a 40-year-old white male while walking through the woods on the west side of Cleveland. Could you imagine as a teenager just walking home from school?
No.
And you come across a goddamn body that's decapitated?
Okay.
So
no, I could never imagine it. Especially you're not desensitized by the stupid computer in your hand, right?
No.
Can you imagine? Ugh.
No.
Animals keep opening the door. Sorry, keep going.
No worries. So, so the victim had been dead about 2 months, and his head, as well as a pile of bloody clothing, was found nearby.
Whoa.
And judging by the enormous quantity of blood that had seeped into the ground, the man had apparently been killed where his body was found. Victim number 5 was also never identified. September 1936. So he's on a spree now.
Yeah, he's just pumping and dumping.
Yeah, a man tripped over the upper half of a man's torso while trying to hop a train at the East 37th Street in Kingsbury Run.
I'm sorry, that's the most ridiculous sentence you've ever said to me.
I know.
How do you
tripped over an upper toe? Whoops! I didn't see that
it's
there.
not like a banana peel.
No, it's not.
Okay, whatever. Go on. Sorry.
So Cleveland police searched a nearby pool, which was basically nothing more than a big open sewer, and found the lower half of the torso and parts of both of the legs.
Ew.
The police sent a diver to make the recovery.
Jesus.
In the fucking sewer.
I can only imagine
water.
In the 1930s, in those big giant ridiculous suits, because it's not let's just pop a tank on your back anyway.
It's like a fucking Monsters Inc. suit.
100%.
So he did that while 600 people watched him.
Jesus.
Try to find the body. And victim number 8 was in his late 20s. The cause of death was, you guessed it, decapitation. And
it's not the cause of death. But go on.
The coroner noted in this specific death that the lack of hesitation marks in the dismembered body indicated a strong, confident killer, very familiar to the human anatomy. So they're like, okay, now I finally have some clues. Okay, now that I see.
All I'm gathering from this story
now I can see is
that
probably.
I could have been a detective easily in the 1930s.
Oh, we all were.
Holy shit.
We were all better than them.
Right?
Now.
He's clearly good at what he does because he saws people's heads off, and sometimes they're junk.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you, coroner.
Yes. Yeah, so that's fun. So now we're moving on to the fall of 1936, which there was a huge media frenzy because there'd been a lot of bodies found at this point. 6 total. This was victim number 6, not including victim number 0. Okay? So the Cleveland Press, the Cleveland News, the Cleveland Plain Dealer all reported almost daily on killings and the lack of a suspect.
You know what's crazy though? I'm sure like all of them
Tension
like,
was
well,
high.
like whatever. It can't get any worse than this. Like we live in like a dirty tent and it sucks. We live in a place called Hobo Jungle. Take me now, Lord.
And they were probably asking for it. No,
probably.
they weren't. They were not.
They were not asking
for
it. I'm being an asshole.
I'm being an asshole.
Yeah, it's fine. We're both being assholes.
So, this killer had been labeled as the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run.
It's a fair
because
statement,
they didn't have a name for him.
No,
because no one knew what the fuck was going on.
No.
So, mounting pressure from Mayor Harold Burton, recently appointed safety director Elliot Ness got more involved with the case.
Okay.
So he was one of the most famous dudes back then. Fucking busting the booze hounds and whatever else he was doing.
Rolling them.
Al Capone and shit. But he was on the job for this case. Yeah. Clearly. So Coroner Pierce called for what the newspapers dubbed a torso clinic, which was a meeting of police, the coroner, and other experts to discuss information and to profile someone who could be responsible for these killings. So they were like, how the fuck do we find anyone who's doing this?
Right.
How are we going to do this? It's 1930 fucking 8.
True.
6.
Torso clinics. I'm into that.
So they were just like, all right, we're going to put this thing together. We're going to call it the Torso Clinic.
It'll be fine.
Fucking great taste, boys.
Dicks.
Because all we find are torsos. Sick. Anyways, so the police department put detectives Peter Morello, maybe, and Martin Zalewski on the case full time. By the time the case had run its course, the two had interviewed more than 1,500 people. The department as a whole, more than 5,000. Still, no one that they were able to convict. Well, because also they didn't they couldn't get evidence.
Right. Well, because again, like their shoddy detective skills were like, he don't have a head now. He dead.
Did you decapitate someone? No, you didn't. Okay, you're free. Bye.
Move it along, sir.
So then the coronary dude was replaced by some dude named Samuel Gerber, who is now legendary because apparently he got some shit done.
Good for him.
I mean, it didn't seem like he got shit done. It just seemed like they just found more people while he was doing his thing. So anyways, moving along, February 1937. So this is not that much longer. He waited a little more than 6 months.
Yeah.
A man found the upper half of a woman's torso washed up on the shore east of a place that was kind of by where the Lady of the Lake was found.
Okay.
Unlike the previous victims, though, her cause of death was not decapitation. So maybe they're figuring some things out, Mr. Gerber. What? He's like, you guys, you can't just say this is the cause of death. Clearly. Yeah. Actually, that's not part of the story. But
what was the cause of death?
So she was decapitated after she'd already been dead.
Yes. Because he was like, I used my science skills to see that the blood wasn't pumping.
I guess I didn't go that far to find out that she didn't.
That's fine.
She was already dead.
But the point is that
she was already dead.
He determined that she was already dead. Mm-hmm. I'm going to aim to guess that his method of whatever was strangulation.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yes, and she was also never identified, and she was mid-20s.
So sad.
I know, it is. I'm sorry, I don't even know her cause of death now, because it wasn't even decapitation, even though she was decapitated.
Yeah, but I'm sure
or maybe she wasn't. Was she not? No, she was.
Well, if it's a torso murders, I would imagine that it's his calling card, so he would take the head.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. June 1937, a teenage boy discovered a human skull under the Lorraine Carnegie Bridge, which is outside of Cleveland.
At least she found a head.
Next to it was a burlap bag containing the skeletal remains of what turned out to be a petite black woman about 40 years old.
Oh, dear.
Dental work allowed for the unofficial identification of identification as Rose Wallace. But police followed every lead they had on her, and apparently that led to nowhere. So they don't really know if that was actually her or not.
Okay.
But they believe that it was. But they don't know for sure.
But they don't know.
Which is also sad.
Yes. Yeah.
So July 1937, another 30-ish was a victim.
Oh, no.
A young National Guardsman standing watch by the West 3rd Street Bridge saw the first piece of victim number 9 bobbing in the Cuyahoga River in the wake of a passing tugboat.
Oh
my.
disgusting.
What's that out there, a log?
Oh, it's a leg.
It's a torso.
It was a torso.
No, it was...
Was it a leg?
The first piece.
Oh, so it doesn't say.
Bobbing in the river. Over the next few days, the police recovered the entire body except for the head, of course.
Yeah.
Because it was in the glass case
somewhere in Oz.
home of some dude's fucking house.
Jesus.
The abdomen had been gutted and the heart ripped out, clearly indicating a new element of his viciousness.
Oh, shit.
And just trying to try something new, apparently, Mr. Killer Dude.
He's getting a little bored.
Again, he was in his mid to late 30s. Damn. Never identified. April 1938, a young laborer on his way to work in the Flats, which is right by, it's the same area. He saw what he thought to be a dead fish, but he took a closer look and it revealed to be a lower half of a woman's leg.
Oh, okay.
Which was the first piece of victim number 10 to be recovered. Okay. A month later, the police pulled out 2 burlap bags out of the river containing both parts of the torso and most of the rest of both of the legs. He was just a fucking weird fucking fuck.
That's putting it lightly.
You know what? Any serial killer is a weird fucking fuck. So I don't know why I'm just saying that he is.
I don't know either. Honey.
So for the first time, Coroner Gerber detected drugs in the system.
Ah, yes.
So were the drugs used to immobilize the victim, or was she an addict? No one will ever know.
But science, okay.
He was.
Good for him.
That's why he was made legendary.
Good for him.
Because he was like
actually using his.
We
skills.
need to dig a little deeper,
so
guys.
He probably was drugging his victims.
Yeah,
okay.
probably. So yeah. And this was the first time they had even
tested for it.
Discovered that. She was never identified.
Jeez.
And one of the main reasons they were never able to identify if she was an addict or if he used the drugs is they never were able to find her arms, and they
to see track marks. Yeah,
that would help them decide.
Yeah.
August 16th, 1938, 3 scrap collectors foraging in a dump site at East 9th and Lakeside found the torso of a woman wrapped in a man's double-breasted blue blazer and then wrapped again in an old quilt.
Oh.
He was getting very, very creative with his wrapping.
Oh, my.
The legs and the arms were discovered in a recently constructed makeshift box wrapped in brown butcher paper and held together with rubber bands.
Oh, nice. That's
Bro is
lovely.
living his best life with this shit.
He's getting creative and stuff. He's getting all Martha Stewart.
Fuck. Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna fucking wrap it with a ribbon.
It's fine.
And put some extra rubber bands on there.
And it's great because I have all these extra hands that I can use to make a really pretty bow.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't need anybody's extra finger. Fuck.
Oh my god. So the head had been similarly wrapped, and Gerber noted that some of the parts looked as if they had been refrigerated. While searching for more pieces, the police discovered the remains of a second body only yards away.
Lovely.
And these 2 bodies had been placed in a location that was plain view from Elliot Ness's office window.
This guy's cocky.
Almost as if he's taunting him. Clearly.
Clearly.
Yeah. So neither victim 11 or 12 were ever identified.
Damn.
And August 18th, 1938, Elliot Ness and a group of 35 police officers and detectives raided the homeless encampments of Kingsbury Run, or the Hobo Jungle. Mm-hmm. 11 squad cars, 2 police vans, and 3 fire trucks descent on the largest cluster of the makeshift shacks.
Mm-hmm.
And they eventually gathered up 63 men, and at dawn, police and firemen searched the deserted shanties for different clues, and they were like, this is the way we're gonna figure out the murder.
Yes.
We're gonna take everyone out of it, and we're gonna fucking raid the camp.
The hobo camp. Because it has to be one of them.
Yeah, exactly. And then on the orders of, after they did all that, searched everywhere, took these men out.
Yes.
On the orders of Mr. Ness, the shacks were set fire and burned to the ground.
Oh, that's
all of it.
Fucking depressing. So the evidence that could be in there, totally. All
yeah.
Right. Cool.
So the press severely criticized Ness for his actions.
Well, yeah.
And the public remained afraid and frustrated because they were like, this isn't going to solve anything.
Right.
But then they still did it, and then it still didn't solve anything.
Right.
So it just made things worse because I was like,
great, thank you.
I literally can't even fucking buy rice to eat.
Right. It sucks.
This was the only place anyways. Yeah. It was just a lot of shit going on. So July 1939, County Sheriff Martin O'Donnell arrested 52-year-old Bohemian bricklayer Frank Dozel for the murder of Flo Polillo, which I don't know, Florence.
Right.
Polillo.
Right.
Who was victim number 3.
So arrested for her murder.
He arrested, because he had lived with her for a while, and he was actually also had been acquainted with Edward Andrassi and Rose Wallace, who they also identified. So they're like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. But his confession was kind of a mess. His quote-unquote confession.
Of course, yes.
Consisted of incoherent ramblings and neat, precise details, almost as if he had been coached.
Okay.
Is what they say. And before he could go to trial, Dozel was found dead in his jail cell.
Shit.
The 5'8" Dozel had hung himself from a hook only 5 feet 7 inches off the floor.
Damn.
Gerber's autopsy revealed 6 broken ribs, all of which had been obtained while in sheriff's custody.
Oh.
So to this day, most people
just think he was murdered.
Few believe Frank Dozel was the torso killer.
Yeah.
And they think that, they don't think that was a real confession, and they don't think that he was the torso killer at all.
That's fair.
And that's kind of where my story ends, guys.
That's so sad.
Except that there were rumors abound as to who the killer was.
Right.
I mean, there's probably so many people that were like, that guy has to be it.
Hobo people talk.
While the case is officially unsolved, many believe the identity of the torso murderer of the Kingsbury Run has been known since the 1930s.
That's fair. Okay.
Elliot Ness, without a doubt, thought he knew who the killer was, but he was never able to
have any evidence.
He was never able to convict him.
Okay.
So this killer was known as Dr. X.
Oh.
Who, and who's Dr. X? A man named Francis E. Sweeney.
Okay.
Who was an intelligent, skilled, and very troubled surgeon who lived near Kingsbury Run.
Okay.
Dr. Sweeney had surgical knowledge, and he had access to facilities properly equipped for dismembering bodies if you really wanted to dismember them there.
There you be.
So they're like, that could be
him.
Could be you. And despite a week-long interrogation by Elliot Ness and other high-level investigators, probably the fucking BI and shit, they were never able to crack him, and he never confessed. So, literally the only way they would be able to fucking convict him is if he would have confessed, and he didn't, so they couldn't. So they, pretty much think it was him, but they technically don't
have
really know.
Evidence. Yeah.
Okay. But immediately after Sweeney had committed himself to a sanatorium, the murder stopped. So that's why they also are like, well,
shit.
That's a coincidence,
it's
sir.
Sweeney Todd.
Yeah. So they just ended up. So yeah, he committed himself into a sanatorium, and I guess they just let it be, and he died free as a bird.
Damn. Okay. Well, I mean, that's pretty coincidental. So, well, I guess we'll never know, which is really sad.
Yeah. But also, and now, originally it's been thought that it was only 12 or 13 people, which is still a fucking lot of people to kill.
It's probably more.
Recent research has shown that there could have been as many as 20.
Ugh. That's a lot of souls.
That's my story.
That's a great.
How long was that?
41 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
It was pretty good.
That's all I got.
That was really uplifting.
Was it?
So time for some...
Ready to spiral back down.
More crime.
I'm ready to do the downward spiral, dog. Downward spiral.
Okay. Here I am. Back for some more crime.
I'm ready.
Did you guys go barf on the side of the road?
Did you guys... Are you still listening?
Yes. I hope so. Because I got a good one for you. There's crime. There's some pop culture in it. No nostalgia, but mostly pop culture.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Dude. Sweet. Okay, so this is also about another Ripper in the multiverse of America.
Oh.
This guy is named Danny Rawlings, and he is called the Gainsville Ripper.
Oh.
And I'll let you know about the pulp culture here at the very end. But anyway, so Danny Rawlings murdered 5 University of Florida I'm just diving right into it. 5 University of Florida students over 4 days in the summer of 1990. And the massacre, actually, I will be telling you why at the beginning of the story, why I'm doing this.
Oh, okay.
So
I like that.
The massacre of the students and terror has inspired the storyline for
Scream?
Yep.
That's what
so when we originally were going to record, Scream 6 was releasing that week, so that's why I did it. But close enough. Whatever.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it. It looks really dark.
Does it? I haven't even seen any.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see it.
It looks actually
I haven't seen a fucking murder movie in forever.
That one actually looks pretty good. There's no
There's
no Nev Campbell in it, though. They couldn't.
Is Jamie Kennedy
They
in it?
couldn't pay her, right? Like, no, he died in Scream 2.
Oh,
yeah.
I guess.
Spoiler alert.
I guess they don't bring people back. I was like, Jamie Kennedy died?
He died.
Malibu's Most Wanted is dead?
Oh my God.
You guys remember that fucking throwback? That was like, what, 2000?
Right? That's a big throwback. Malibu's Most Wanted. That was a good one. Okay, so Danny Rawlings was born in Shreveport, Louisiana. His father was a Shreveport police officer named James Rawlings, who told Danny that he was unwanted from birth. So already getting to a good start. James was also abused and beat. James also abused and beat Danny and Danny's mother, Claudia, and his brother, Kevin, for frivolous things such as, breathing. In a way, or in any way that, like, displeased him. Just didn't like the guy. Or apparently his family. Let's see. His mom made repeated attempts to leave her husband, but always returned shortly. When Danny failed the 3rd grade for too many absences due to illness, his mother had a nervous breakdown. Danny's school counselors described him as suffering from an inferiority complex, with aggressive tendencies and poor impulse control. In one example of the senior Rawlings, that was weird. Oh, sorry. In one example of James Rawlings' discipline, he pinned Danny to the ground and handcuffed him, then had police take his son away because he was embarrassed by him. In another story, Danny had a dog, but James, this is so sad, James beat the dog so often that it died in Danny's arms. So here we are again at the beginning of making a murderer. Yeah.
Wow.
I wonder why he was a murderer. So, by age 11, Danny picked up music to cope with his abusive father. He played guitar and sang hymn-like songs.
Well, that's sort of good.
Right?
He's
trying. About this time, his mother was committed to a hospital after she had slit her wrist after claiming her husband tried to make her cut herself with a razor blade. Danny then picked up drugs and alcohol, which I can't imagine that he hadn't at this point, like before. So I can't believe he didn't start smoking whatever at 8, which only worsened his already fragile mental state. As a teenager and young adult, Rawlings was arrested several times for robberies in Georgia and was caught spying on women getting dressed, so peeping Tom. Great. As an adult, he had trouble trying to assimilate into society. Shocking, I know. And to hold down a steady job, which he did eventually decide to enlist, which, whatever.
As some of them do.
Yeah. But, let's see, the Navy wouldn't take him, so he joined the Air Force, but the military provided him no comfort. Shocking. He eventually quit. Other sources say he was kicked out of the Air Force after too much drug use, which included taking acid more than 100 times.
Nice.
After, like, if that doesn't, maybe he was like, I will be part of the MK Ultra. After the military, he actually married someone, and they had a daughter. But at the age of 23, which is wild that all of this happened before 23.
He wasn't even 23?
No, all of this happened very, very fast. But at the age of 23, after being with his wife for 4 years, she separated from him after he threatened to kill her.
Well, you gotta go from that.
For the 70s, good for her for, like, being like, fuck this.
Yeah.
this was in 1977. So Danny turned his devastation.
Good for her for saying no to someone that said, "I'm gonna kill you.
I'm gonna murder you." I was like, good for her. I mean, but some women, like, even when they do, they still are just like,
it's fine. I don't have any
he's just
support.
broken. I'm gonna, they're just too scared to leave, or so good for her to like, it's not worth
all
this.
the excuses.
Danny turned his devastation into anger and raped a woman who closely resembled his ex-wife. Later that year, he killed a woman in a car accident, which troubled him further. I think he was drunk. The 1980s, Rawlings was in and out of jail. Shocking. Between like Alabama and Mississippi for armed robbery. His time in between stints in jail were spent traveling the country, stealing and occasionally forcing himself on women. You know, pastimes.
As you do.
Yes. Well, what are you going to do when they say no? You have to just take it. I'm joking, by the way. Everybody knows that, hopefully. Okay, moving on. He broke out of prison several times and was fired and quit jobs just as frequently. So let's just jump to Shreveport, November 1989. Rawlings was fired from his job at a restaurant. And that same night, apparently a murder had happened. It was 24-year-old Julie Grissom, her 8-year-old nephew, Sean, and her 55-year-old father, Tom. Julie was found with bite marks and her body arranged with her legs spread on the bed. Now, I will say these murders were... Let me repeat that. So these murders were unsolved until years later. So, wow. So again, like, he got fired, and then coincidentally, these guys were murdered, happened on the same night.
And then no one knew about it.
And nobody knew about it.
Or no one knew.
Right, because he was just kind of like a drifter. So, So then the following May, he got into one final argument with his father. This time he pulled out a gun and he shot his dad in the stomach and the head.
I mean, I don't blame him.
Wildly, his father survived but lost the one eye and an ear. So this guy's like a fucking villain. He's like a fucking, like, he had to have been a demon. Just a flesh wound. Danny then...
It's fine!
Yeah. Danny then changed his identity with papers he stole after breaking into somebody's house. He fled Shreveport and took a bus to Sarasota, Florida to start a new life as Michael Kennedy Jr. Very generic name, but whatever.
Michael Kennedy. Being a Kennedy down in Florida, that's a smart way to go.
That's right. They'll leave him alone.
Especially a Kennedy Jr. Woo, right? Safe.
Totally safe. So, and he fled in late July of 1990. So now we're at the Gainsville murders. So on August 24th of 1990, Danny broke into the home of Sonia Larson and Christina Powell, both incoming freshmen at the University of Florida in Gainesville. Rawlings followed them home, broke into their house, and simply just overpowered them. And that's what begun his kind of streak as the Gainesville murderer. Ripper, I'm sorry. So, PSA, it's a little graphic. So, just letting everybody know.
Graphic content.
Yes, thank you.
That's so you're alerted for your commute home.
Correct. If you just need to fast forward.
Graphic.
Yeah. So this is the first murder, as I just mentioned.
Graphic.
He found Christina asleep on the downstairs couch. He stood over her briefly, but did not wake her up. And I'm assuming this is all coming from a confession that he later gives. Because I'm like, how the fuck would he know this? Would they know this? Choosing instead to explore the upstairs bedroom where Larson was also asleep. He murdered Sonia, which was Larson, first by taping her mouth shut to stifle her screams, and then stabbed her to death with a K-bar knife, which is the same knife used in Scream. And she died trying to fend him off. So she really did try her fucking best. So Rawlings then went and duct tape. So he went back downstairs and duct taped Christina's mouth before he bound her hands. He forced her to perform oral sex on him before he raped her, and then forced her face down on the floor, where he stabbed her 5 times in the back and killed her. That was kind of his MO. He would flip him around and then he would stab him. And they don't know why.
Yikes.
He returned to Sonia's dead body and raped her again, allegedly. So,
yeah. Wow, little fucking
fucking
What is that?
creepo. That's nympho. No, not nympho. That's not right. Necrophilia.
That's what it is.
I can't pronounce some words, but I can pronounce that. So figure that out.
Fine.
I just listen to things way too much. Okay, so he went so far as to cut off. He went so far to cut off both of their nipples. And he kept one as a grisly trophy of his actions.
Oh, wow.
He then, I told you it was graphic. He then posed the bodies in sexual provocative positions. And he had time, so he took a shower before leaving the apartment.
What?
Yeah.
Fucking.
So unlike.
It's like those, like, how are you a human being?
I don't know. That's a good question. And I don't know. Well, and again, if you're severely beaten, and I watched a documentary.
I mean, yeah, you are so
like you're so just
traumatized,
right?
By
but
so
I don't
many
know
things.
how some people's brains just But they do talk about, like, there was one documentary that they talk about, like, him peeping into windows. Was he getting more increasingly angry, like, when he was seeing, like, these happy families and going, like, why can't I just have that? That's all I fucking want. I just want to be loved and whatever. And how it shifts to this darkness, I'm sure everybody, that's why people have, like this Criminal Minds guys or whatever, that they just really wonder, like, what shifts them? Like, what is enough to, like...
And it's, like, and what's enough to, like, you just... Because, like... You can always turn around, like, people turn around all the time, you know, like, you can't, like, people almost go, it's just, like, what is that point where you turn back or you go deeper?
Right.
Is what always, it's just, like.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't.
Human
behavior
is fucking fascinating,
it's
that's
wild.
for sure.
Psychology is very wild.
And,
Yeah.
Can be very
so approximately 42 hours later, during the evening hours of Saturday, August 25th, Rawlings broke into the apartment of college student Christina Hoyt, located about 2 miles away from the first crime scene, by prying open the sliding glass door with a screwdriver, and armed with the same automatic pistol and K-bar knife. He waited in the living room for the arrival of Miss
this is
Miss
like
Hoyt.
fucking Scream.
It is like Scream.
Which is like the scariest thing
it's fucking
I could
terrifying.
ever.
Yeah, it's fucking terrifying.
One of the scariest things I could imagine.
He waited for the arrival of Christina, and he had peeked. He was like a peeping Tom at her like a few days before. So when she eventually returned home about 11 a.m., so this is all actually happening during the day, which is fucking wild too. He surprised her from behind, placing her in a chokehold and subduing her. After a brief struggle, he taped her mouth and her hands and then led her into her bedroom where, after cutting and tearing off her clothes and undergarments, he forced her onto the bed, threatened her with his knife, and sexually battered her. He subsequently turned her face down and in her bed and stabbed her through the back, rupturing her aorta and killing her. Just as he had done with the first two victims, he posed her, and after arriving back at his campsite, he was homeless at the time, Rowling could not find his wallet, thinking he may have lost it at the murder scene. He returned, at which time he decapitated her, posed her like in a sitting position at the edge of her bed, and placed her head on a shelf facing the corpse.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's dark. He later claimed his intent was to add to shock of whoever discovered her. Yeah, you got it, buddy. By this point, the murders...
Sad.
Yeah, it's super sad. By this point, the murders had attracted widespread media attention. Many students had begun taking extra precautions, such as changing their daily routines, sleeping together in groups. Because the spree was happening so early in the fall semester.
Just kidding.
Yeah, lots of orgies.
They were just having orgies to keep safe?
Yes, that's how... to scare them away. A lot of students just withdrew their enrollment or transferred to other schools. A little over a day later, like, this guy was wasting no time. At approximately 3 a.m. on August 27th, Rowling entered a third apartment occupied by roommates and college students, Tracy Paulus and Manuel Tabata. Again, he broke into the apartment by prying open with the double glass sliding door with the same screwdriver he used for Miss Hoyt's apartment. Armed with the same pistol and knife, he crept into the bedrooms where he found Manny, that's Manuel, asleep. He attacked him, stabbing him in the solar plexus and penetrating his a thoracic vertebrae.
Aye.
Yeah. He was awakened by the blow and struggled to fight off his assailant. He repeatedly stabbed him on the arms, hands, chest, legs, and face, and eventually killed him. Yeah. I mean, just brutal.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That fucking freaks me out.
Right? Like, just, it really is like Scream. Hearing the commotion caused by the struggle, Tracy approached Manny's bedroom and, catching a glimpse of him, Rolling, fled to her room where she attempted to lock her door. Rolling, who was covered with Manny's blood, followed her and broke through her bedroom door. He subdued her, taped her mouth and hands, and cut and tore off her shirt. He sexually assaulted her and threatened her with his knife before turning her over and killing her with 3 stabbing blows to the back. Oh my god. And then he cleaned and posed her. He posed the body and left the apartment. Okay, gory details over. I tried to just run through that really fast.
Scream.
Yeah, literally. With the exception of the dude Manny, all of the victims were petite, white brunettes with brown eyes, like his mommy. Although law enforcement intentionally had very few leads, police did identify 2 suspects. One suspect was Edward Lewis Humphrey, a University of Florida student, had a history of mental illness and bore numerous scars on his face from a car accident. Humphrey was arrested after a physical altercation with his grandmother and held in custody for 5 months, so not the most upstanding guy in the world, until a grand jury refused to indict him on the murder charges, citing insufficient evidence. Humphrey's photo was shown repeatedly by media outlets. If you ever look it up, it's fucking wild looking. You would actually, you're like, yeah, that's a fucking murderer. Authorities publicly cleared him of all charges after Rolling's arrest, and the other suspect was also cleared later, which it didn't really matter because it was not as popular as Humphrey because he just looked. I mean, people really did judge him by the way he looked. Yeah. So the police were having a hell of a time gathering evidence instead of leaving the duct tape on the dead bodies. Rollings disposed of it in dumpsters to get rid of any fingerprints. Danny also used cleaning solvents on the dead bodies to remove any traces of semen. The one thing they could serve as a clue was the fact that he positioned some of the women in sexually provocative positions. So that was their only clue. So they're like, that's how we knew that they tied them all together. So while the police were scratching their heads and students were literally fleeing for their lives, old Danny Boy continued to steal from homes and gas stations until he was finally caught in Ocala? Or so, I don't know. After a high-speed chase. He was wanted for the robbery of a Winn-Dixie, as authorities still did not know that he was the Gainesville Ripper. That was on September 8th, 2 weeks after the murders. I mean, this guy just had snapped. Since the murders had garnered national attention, remember that murder back in 1989? So Louisiana police alerted Florida authorities to an unsolved triple murder in Shreveport on November of 1989. Detectives noted that there were similarities between the Gainesville murders and those of the murders in Shreveport. The family had been attacked in their home, and they were preparing for dinner. Afterwards, Julie's body had been mutilated, cleaned, and posed. So thank God he's a sicko, and at the very least, we'll give that poor family in Louisiana some justice.
Yikes.
So then Don Maines, an investigator of this case with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, traveled to Shreveport in November of 1990 because of the similarities between the murders committed in Gainesville and the murders committed in Shreveport. And they included posing of the victims, tape residue on the victims' bodies, and vinegar used to clean the body. Don said that they tested the body fluids for the perpetrator in Shreveport and found that the person also had type B blood, so he was not as thorough with his cleaning up, thank God. Shortly after Don's trip
Can't be perfect.
Shortly after Don's trip to Shreveport, a Shreveport resident, Cindy Jerkada, called Crime Stoppers and reported that Danny Rollings was possibly connected to the murders in both cities. I don't know how. 3 months early in 1990, August of 1990, Cindy heard a news report about a string of murders as she traveled through Florida, the Florida Panhandle. The report made her think about Rollings, whom she had met at Louisiana hometown church. But of course, and his possible link to to these 3 other Shreveport murders. Danny had said deeply disturbing things to both her and then husband Stephen Dobbin. He'd come over every night for a while, and then one night Stephen came in and he goes, "He's got to go." That's what Cindy said, apparently. She also said that
he must have said something.
He must have said something where he was like, he's getting a weird vibe. She also said that, that Stephen told her that Danny had told him he had a problem. And I guess Stephen was like, "What kind of problem?" And Stephen said he likes to stick, or she asked, like, what kind of problem Cindy did. And then Stephen said he likes to stick knives into people. Oh. And then Cindy said she dismissed these comments when she heard about them because she didn't want to believe Danny could be responsible for the murders in Shreveport. So Danny had also told her...
How do you know that you like to put knives in people?
Correct.
Without being a murderer?
Correct.
I don't know.
It's weird. Rollings had also told her, "One day I'm going to leave this town and I'm going to go where the girls are beautiful and I can just lay in the sun and watch beautiful women all day." So, not a lot of goals in his life.
That's nice for you.
It's super nice, right? Investigators responded to the tip and quickly found Danny, who had been arrested on September 7th, 1990 in Florida, at that Florida supermarket robbery. So he was just hanging in jail. The robbery had been committed 10 days after the bodies of Manny and the other gal, her last name was Paulus, were found. Danny was being held in Marin County Jail, 40 miles south of Gainesville. Investigators determined that he had type B blood, like the suspect in both murders, or both string of murders. Once Florida investigators realized that that Danny had multiple convictions for armed robbery, they realized he could have been responsible for the bank robbery that occurred on the day Miss Hoyt's body was found. They returned to the evidence locker where the gun, screwdriver, bag of money, and cassette player had been stored, very old-fashioned sentence, and listened to the tape. They also found tools matching the marks left at the Gainesville murder scenes. The small camp where he had been living was in a wooded area near apartment complexes frequented by students. Investigators discovered audio diaries he had made. They're alluding to the crimes. In November of 1991, he was charged with 5 counts of murder. He was brought to trial nearly 4 years after the murders. He claimed his motive was to become a superstar, similar to Ted Bundy. In 1994, before his trial could get underway, though, he unexpectedly pled guilty to all charges. He also believed...
He found Jesus.
He might have. He was a God-fearing man all of a sudden. Danny was also believed guilty of the 3 slayings in Shreveport, but he was never tried for those, unfortunately. He attributed his behavior to abuse by his father, a police officer, and to an evil alter ego. And there is the crazy part you have. He called Gemini. Oh. Several psychiatrists testified that Danny suffered from severe personality disorder, which is not shocking, but stated that he understood what he was doing at the time of the crimes, which in the audio tapes, they play some of them in a documentary. I think it's on Peacock, and he does sound very coherent. It's not like his voice changes or anything like that. Not that I'm an expert. Danny was executed by lethal injection at Florida State Prison on October 25th of 2006, and after the U.S. Supreme Court rejected a last-ditch appeal. He was pronounced dead at 6:13 p.m. So
don't have to worry about him.
Nope.
But there's a few others you do.
Yeah. So Kevin Williamson was an aspiring writer in the 1990s when the Gainesville Ripper murders caught his attention, and he used the case to create a screenplay for the horror movie, which revolved around murders of college students or high school students, and the media frenzy that ensued.
They were in high school?
The first movie, yeah. But they look they're in the next movie
they're like 30
They're like in their
old.
fucking 30s. And the screenplay obviously turned into the 1996 cult classic, which really, there wasn't that far of a gap between the fucking murders. If you think about it, the murders happened in 1990. Scream came out in 1996. Although Scream franchise follows high school students, Williamson's got a chance to explore the fear rampant on universities following the case, like the Gainesville Ripper, like in the second movie, which I think was the Scream 2.
Don't they say Gainesville murder in Scream?
If they do, I don't remember at all. They might.
It's a different it's close to Gainesville.
Yeah.
But anyways.
But anyway. So that's my long-winded story. I had to get to that really quick because there was a lot of gory details, I felt like, and I was like, ugh, I just need to not linger. Good. Yeah.
Do you have to let it linger?
Never let it linger.
Yeah, that was fucking sick. And if you guys ever see my car around, I do have a Scream mask in it. Did you know that?
Dude, no, gross. Why?
Because I think it's funny.
Oh, well.
And I also am like, people probably are creeped out by this, whatever. But it's me, and
fine.
It's not
and
creepy.
It's not like he used a Scream mask, so that's at least happy.
Anyways, I just remembered that, so I thought I should tell you guys. And also,
it's a good one.
Yeah, Scream 3 fucked me up when I was in 7th grade.
Scream 3?
Yeah, that's the only one I've ever seen.
Which one is that one?
It's the one.
Oh, they're like the movie, which is kind of
they're like
funny.
making the movie. So not all the movies are like that, where they're like making a movie about murderers. Haven't you ever seen the first? I've only seen the third Scream.
You need to go home and watch that immediately. It's the best Scream, and it's amazing.
Is it?
You need to go watch it.
It's better than Scream 3.
Yes, by a lot.
I saw it in 7th grade, and it was like the scariest movie I'd ever seen, besides like Silence of the Lambs.
Well, then you'll be terrified with Scream because it kicks Scream 3's ass.
Damn, yeah. It's like
yeah, it's pretty freaky.
Okay,
you need to watch it
today.
Okay,
just get me in a really good mood.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm just kidding. That's not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Anyways, fuck. I need to go in the sunlight.
I know. Well, let's go.
All right. Well, I guess it's that time of the evening.
Yes.
That time of the podcast to say, hey, thank you.
We love you.
We love you. Thanks for listening for all this time. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for writing reviews, sharing our story,
always
sharing our posts, sharing your love. We love you. So we're gonna roll the dice now.
Yes.
To see which topic we're gonna be talking about next week, because we don't want to decide that shit.
No,
I have way too much shit to decide.
We leave it up to
every
fate.
Second. Just roll the dice and tell me.
You ready?
What is it, Shay?
4. It's different this time for me.
Is
it different this time for you?
Is it history?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's history.
Okay, send that to me right now.
I already did. It's history.
I know you have.
Okay.
But
I will send it again.
See it.
Okay. After 4 years.
I will never know. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Okay.
Oh, it's because it's a link.
Yeah.
I just need to save it.
Okay.
Oh, I guess it's my turn?
Yeah, it's your turn. Yeah, I feel like I ran through that really fast. Sorry. I just didn't want this episode. Oh, we're doing another double header.
Wait, what's for?
History. Your favorite. You do love history. I like history too.
I didn't even roll that.
4 again. It's
4.
fate. It's fate.
Fine.
It's fate.
Fine, history gods.
I love that.
What do you got in store for me this week, everyone?
Well, probably some more for us. Government propaganda, but I'm here for it.
I mean, that's
we learned so much. Anyway.
All right, well, we'll see you guys later. Thank you for your time and your energy and your
all the things.
Life. We'll talk to you later. We'll see you next time.